Welcome to CNN 10, your daily explanation of current events. I'm your host, Carl Azus. It's great to have you watching this Thursday. In Los Angeles County, California, people can add Halloween to the list of events affected by coronavirus concerns. The county of more than 10 million people has banned trick-or-treating, so you won't see any of this in Los Angeles on October 31st. The local Department of Public Health says it's too difficult to maintain social distancing on porches and at front doors. It's banned everything from outdoor parties to carnivals to haunted houses, but officials say people can still decorate their homes and have events where they stay inside their cars. Critics say the decision is too restrictive and that it'll be difficult to enforce. As far as coronavirus infections in children go, 2 U.S. health organizations say more than 500,000 American kids have been infected. Children and young adults are significantly less likely to die from COVID-19, but the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics says the numbers are a reminder that the virus needs to be taken seriously. We've been reporting that U.S. government health officials have indicated a coronavirus vaccine could be available as early as October. 9 of the companies working on vaccines, though, are promising they won't cut corners in safety to rush out a drug. Meantime, colleges with students back on campus are trying to guard against the spread of COVID-19. Some of them have said their case numbers are low and that they've had no major problems with the disease. But several of the schools that are struggling with cases say students are responsible.
Just a few weeks into the new school year, colleges and universities across all 50 states have reported more than 37,000 cases of COVID-19. UNC Chapel Hill, among the first and largest schools to reopen for in-person classes, was also one of the first to reverse course, sending students home to complete the semester online after just 130 COVID cases were reported. Several colleges, including Towson University, East Carolina University, and SUNY Oneonta, have now done the same. For schools who had plans, PPE, and ample testing, the question quickly turned to what went wrong. The answer may be as simple as campus life getting in the way. Despite warnings, guidelines, and pledges, students continue to gather off campus, mostly for parties. That has led some local officials, like the mayor of Tuscaloosa, to close bars for at least 2 weeks.
The ever-increasing number of coronavirus cases on campus will create 2 major disruptions for Tuscaloosa if left unabated.
The governor of Iowa following suit.
So while we still know that this population is less likely to be severely impacted by COVID-19, it is increasing the virus activity in the community, and it's spilling over to other segments of the population.
The Greek system also facing heavy scrutiny, with outbreaks traced back to fraternity and sorority parties. Indiana University now recommending that all students living in Greek housing reconsider their living situation. NYU, Ohio State, Purdue, and West Virginia University have all suspended students for violating safety precautions. Northeastern University and Massachusetts went a step further, dismissing 11 students for the semester without returning their tuition. Along the way, public health experts have urged schools to keep students on campus as opposed to sending them back home, even if community spread was detected.
Please isolate at your college. Do not return home if you're positive and spread the virus to your family, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents.
The jury is still out on whether colleges can successfully pull off in-person classes. Experts say the more planning and options a school offers, the better.
Part of that planning could include extensive coronavirus testing. A study in the medical journal JAMA Network Open concluded that if colleges tested every student every 2 days, in addition to following strict safety guidelines, campuses could safely reopen. But a co-author of the study said this might not be possible or affordable for many universities. CNN 10 contributor Chris James joins us now to discuss what it's like to get tested. Chris.
Hey there, Carl. As you well know, testing for the coronavirus has been a major topic of interest since the pandemic began. There are currently 2 different types of COVID tests. One is a viral test, which tells you if you have an active infection, and there's the antibody test, which might tell you if you had a previous infection. Now, I want to tell you a little bit more about my experience taking the viral test. And before I get into details, it's really not that bad, I promise. A swab is placed up your nose, and yeah, it's a bit uncomfortable, but it only lasts about 15 seconds, and then you're all done. As you know, Carl, I was down in Texas and Louisiana reporting on Hurricane Laura. So once I arrived home, I wanted to make sure I was indeed negative for the coronavirus before seeing my family. So over the course of 2 days, I got 2 separate tests just to be extra safe. The first test I got was a PCR test, which stands for polymerase chain reaction. This is the most common and reliable test, which detects disease by looking for the virus's genetic material. The swabs were then sent to a lab, and 2 days later, I received my negative result. Now, I also got a rapid test, which promises results in 15 minutes. Yep, you heard that right, 15 minutes. This is the antigen test, which is a much simpler test and can get processed right in the doctor's office. 20 minutes later, I was given my negative result. Now, one thing to keep in mind, according to the CDC, these rapid tests are more likely to miss an active infection as opposed to the PCR test. And both tests have had some reports of false positives. Medical experts continue to say that the best way to prevent infection is to wash your hands regularly, cover the coughs and sneezes, and of course, to practice those social distancing guidelines. Back to you, Carl.
10-second trivia. The first commercial telegraph line was installed between Washington, D.C. and what other city? Baltimore, Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Illinois, or Boston, Massachusetts? In 1844, the message, "What hath God wrought?" was sent in Morse code from the capital to Baltimore. We first reported on Mr. Trash Wheel a few years ago, saying that though its name is dirty, its game is clean. The first one cost about $750,000 to build and about $100,000 a year to run. And since it was installed in 2014, it's gotten some brothers.
When I first came up with the idea for the trash wheel, I thought the most rewarding thing I could come from this project would be to be able to look out in the harbor and see a lot less trash. But just as rewarding as that has been the fact that kids and even adults look at the trash wheel and are inspired to become a part of this solution. Baltimore has a beautiful harbor, but the first thing that people noticed was the trash in the harbor. It sort of just dawned on me one day, why don't we use the flow of the water and get rid of it? My name is John Kellett. I am the founder of Clearwater Mills and the inventor of Mr. Trash Wheel. Mr. Trash Wheel is a water wheel powered trash interceptor. It sits at the mouth of the main tributary to Baltimore Harbor. When the river's flowing hard, that flow of the river will turn the water wheel and power the conveyor and the rake system and pick up the trash. It's all self-contained, renewable energy.
John invented the device. We added the googly eyes. My name is Adam Lindquist, and I am the director of the Healthy Harbor Initiative at the Waterfront Partnership of Baltimore. Mr. Trash Wheel pulls out about 250 tons of trash from the harbor every year. It's foam containers, plastic bottles, chip bags, and plastic bags. But it wasn't enough to just install a trash wheel. We need to get the people of Baltimore engaged. When you create a character, you've got to decide, who is this googly-eyed monster living in the harbor? We describe him as a nerdy, excitable jokester. He's been a viral success on the internet. We transformed this trash interceptor into a larger social media campaign to really promote behavior change and pass legislation.
We now have 3 trash wheels, and we're working on the 4th trash wheel, which is going to be the biggest one yet. It's incredibly rewarding to be able to be a part of a city that takes its problems seriously and is willing to think creatively and try new things and to deal with the problems.
Critics might call it wheelie trashy. No one would call it wheelie flashy. But with googly eyes looming large, it consumes tons of the harbor's garbage. A fantastic vacuum of plastic, nothing getting past its effects so drastic. A mainstream cleaning machine cities can use to rid refuse in a way they don't refuse. I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10. Fairport High School is in Fairport, New York. Thank you for watching and commenting on our YouTube page.